orcs, and they're going to come back with a big siege army. And when that siege army is sitting there, this is what we'd call, this as an example, is the final stage of that rallying call, is the siege of Halas. Now, there's all kinds of new quest opportunities, of course, stopping the catapults, fighting against the things, defending the walls, perhaps combating against espionage or preventing sappers from undermining your walls, so on and so forth. And then, of course, we have some randomness that comes in because the quarries got abandoned. Now the monsters might be freely coming out and not only messing with you, but also messing with the gnolls and orcs and goblins. So all of those things continue until eventually the players do enough damage to that siege army that they break its back and it retreats. Now that's the end of that rallying call. And what would happen at that point is we would roll out a new rallying call somewhere else in the world. And it's not always somewhere else in the world. It might be here again. We might destroy the city that you just helped build. All kinds of things can be happening on a regular basis. And the really cool thing about this is that after launch, a couple of years down the line, when one of your friends says, hey man, what was it like back at launch? You're going to say, oh my God, Halas didn't even exist back then. That was before the Dragon Army attacked. That was before the Civil War. You know, you'll have all these unique stories. And as the world progresses, it will constantly change. You'll be constantly finding new experiences. And in fact, it's almost impossible to create your same gameplay experiences if you roll up a new alt. Because honestly, not only do you have to make exactly the same decisions to even have a chance at that, because remember, the world's remembering everything that you've done. But the world has changed underneath you. So you're going to need to constantly explore and find out about this world as you move through it. Right? So that's permanent change and emergent AI and of course destructibility, as well as the fact that we changed the core game. And those four elements wrap together into something that we call EverQuest Next. And to be honest, that's enough, but that's not all. I mean, we're really happy where that game is. That's an MMO that every single one of us wants to play. We're really excited about it. We're we're jazzed to bring it to you. But there's something else that came along the way. Because when we started building all of this, well, before I get to that, let me show you one last scene of Carnage. Because Carnage is always fun. Sometimes the monsters can get big. Let's see what that Karen's running away from. That's the Iron Golem. We'll just hope Kishar was hiding in the basement. So anyway, like I said, we're really excited about that game. But as we built it, we had to build all kinds of special tools that allowed us to make something special. And by the way, that's Fioriona in the game. As we started to build something special, we needed to assemble tools that none of us had ever used before because they had never existed before. If you're going to build an entire MMO out of voxels, you have to make some pretty cool tools. So we did that, and we started putting them together, and one of the things that came up that was really cool was, well, all the devs started spending all their weekends and their nights and stuff like that one-upping each other, trying to build something that was really cool, because the tools were that good. And it didn't take us long before we realized that what we really wanted to do was give you guys the same tools that we had so that you could help us build EverQuest Next. And we talked about it for a while, and the talks went on and on and on, and finally we came up with the idea that what we really wanted to do was make that experience something just incredibly special. And so what we're doing this winter is something that, well, we haven't announced until just now. We're releasing an entirely new game this winter, and it's called EverQuest Next Landmark. Now, surprise! So what EverQuest Next Landmark is, it's a huge collection of worlds that are all persistent, of course, just like any other MMO world that you're experienced with, you know, chats and guilds and all that other stuff. They're persistent worlds, but they're all procedurally generated. Every single one of them has continental land masses that are completely different than every other world. And what we're going to do is give you all the tools and all the materials that we're using to build EverQuest Next, and we're going to just let you go. You can literally build anything you want to, as long as customer service allows it. So anyway, that's what we're going to do. And the way that that works, the way that Landmark works when you play it, is that we're going to give you a claim flag. And you're going to strike out into the world, and you're going to find a really cool spot to plant your flag, and then that's going to be your claim. And you can build anything on it that you want to. You can set up status privileges so that your friends can build with you. You can hook up different claims together, and of course you can earn multiple claims. But the idea is that as you explore across the world and you find the different things that you need to build with, you're going to be wandering through thousands of other players' imaginations. And of course, we set up the entire world so that it's tiered and stuff, and as you explore the world, what you're looking for are the resources and the recipes and the objects to take back to your claim and be able to build really cool things. We have crafting stations where you can use the resources and the recipes to create objects like, you know, statues and doors and windows and things like that, and then you bring them back to your claim and you start erecting. Now, the tools are what make this a really, really fantastic experience. So, when you play a normal block building game, you expect this kind of tool, where you can stack blocks and stuff. And that's a great place to start, and of course we can do that too. But there's more. Because in our game, the voxel brush can change size, which allows you to very easily and very quickly create an amazing amount of detail. You can also use a bevel tool to cut different angles off the block, as well as a smoothing tool to actually change the vertices in real time to be able to look eroded or smoothed. And when I say smoothed, I mean smoothed. In a regular block building game, this is what a sphere would look like. In EverQuest Landmark, this is what a sphere looks like. Now I want you to think back. Everything that you've seen in the game so far is made of voxels. The image didn't change. There we go. Everything that you're seeing in the game so far is made of voxels. And so that scene right there is entirely made out of very, very small blocks. And everything that you've seen so far is also made out of those same voxels. So what we can create, you can absolutely create. And I'm telling you, it's actually a fun experience. Now, this is a time lapse of actually building. It represents about 22 minutes of real time. And as you can see, maybe they stack blocks to start with, but with those tools, it's really easy to make things look eroded and smoothed off, and it's very, very simple to use. Now, of course, we have Player Studio as well. And the cool thing about that is, like, well, of course, with EverQuest and EverQuest 2s, most of you are familiar with Player Studio, but just in case somebody out there in TV land hasn't heard of it, it's a mechanism by which players can create assets and then be able to put them up on the marketplace so that other players can buy them, and then the creators can actually make real cash from playing the game and making it a better experience for everybody else. In EverQuest Next and in EverQuest Next Landmark, the tools to do all that work are baked right into the game. So every single one of you can do it. And when you make something cool, you can put it up on Player Studio and let other people buy it for cash. And the opportunity to make real money out of a game like this is something that's definitely novel. And just to show you a little bit about how that works, imagine that I make a really cool tower, and it's all crenellated and it's kitted out and has really nice paintings and rugs and all kinds of stuff in it. And I package it up and I put it up on the Player Studio Marketplace. Now you might buy that because you want to build a castle. So you'd plunk my tower down a bunch of times and build a castle around it. Now when you package that castle up and put it up on Player Studio and you sell that thing, me, the creator of that tower, is basically going to get a little bit of royalties every time you sell one of those castles based upon what the percentage of my towers are out of your castle. So your creativity is always preserved, and you can do as much or as little of this as you want to. Now, one of the really